We've sent a few off.
We have.
We had enough of Damo.
Oh, yeah.
And we've had enough of Bernie.
He's not funny.
So they can both bugger off just for a minute.
Just
because
you and I.
we need to catch up for hard yakka built tough like the legends who wear it with a legend.
Yes.
And this man, a fair while ago, took off from the Docklands.
Yes.
In his ketch.
In his what?
And his yacht and headed up the east coast of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And very nearly on about 17 occasions, drowned.
Exactly.
And I speak of Sam Newman, who joins us on the line. Foss, are you there?
Jim Bob and Fat, how are you?
Fossil.
Yeah, I left in May, and it's not a yacht; it's a stink boat. A stink boat is what the yachts call boats with engines, and the boats with engines, the people that own them call yachts wind thieves.
So you're in a stink boat. Now, we saw the articles where you had your foot against the porthole because that had bloody come charging in rough weather. So you had a bit of crap to deal with.
My wordy, coming past Bass Strait there and into the Pacific Ocean, we had what's known in the nautical terms, boys, is water ingress. Ooh. That is where the porthole blew, and I had to lie on my back on the bed with my foot up against the broken porthole so that the boat didn't completely sink.
Wow. What else went wrong on the way up?
Yeah.
Well, have you got a minute?
Yes, we have, Foss.
The generator wouldn't gen, the Carby wouldn't carb, and the Pistons, they're not working either.
Oh, he's
Bang!
on fire.
He's still got it.
Where do we find you, Foss? Where exactly are you as you went up the eastern seaboard?
Yeah, I'm up at the Coral Sea Marina in Early Beach up in FNQ, Bill, FNQ.
Far north
and
Queensland.
I'm doing SFA up in FNQ.
Now, Force, the last time I was in that part of the world was on a similar-sized boat with yourself and Gary and Spud and BT and the Chief. And it was magnificent. It was actually breathtakingly beautiful. Have you been to the same places we went to that time?
Absolutely, Jimmy. That was, I think the boat was based out of Hamilton Island, where Hamilton Island's about an hour and a half from where I am on the boat. But we've been to all the great parts of the world here. It is heritage and renowned across the world for this area up here. All the inlets and bays and where you can shelter when the wind and weather turns on you. And someone told me that the Whitehaven Beach is probably not the most populated beach, but it's the most talked about beach in the world.
Really?
Spot on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you found the statue of a seal or a porpoise or whatever it was that Spud picked up off that poor bastard's boat and threw overboard?
Did he?
The captain didn't know what he was in. He actually locked himself up in the helm.
He did.
Which is where you drive the boat. He wouldn't come out, even to say hello to us or greet us in the morning. And Jim, you forget, of course, that the chief not only lifted you, but the very heavy chair you were sitting in and held you out straight over the back of the boat and said, listen.
He did.
You keep this up, I'll let you go.
He did.
You emitted effluent from your rear passage at that stage.
That is 100% true. And then Spud got that full of the personality tablets.
Yes.
That statue weighed a ton, I reckon, and he picked it up and literally threw it overboard.
Really?
And I know the barge won't like this, but I've got a magnificent picture of Brian urinating off the back of the boat. I got that immortalised in celluloid in one of my photos here. He just pissing into the far north Queensland Ocean.
Oh, hey, now, Foss, Tuesday week ago, Channel 9 had a special on 30 years of the Footy Show, back in the good old days with you and Eddie and Trev and your breaking stories and had the teams first and all that. It was the biggest show on TV. Have you had a lot of calls about that and people ringing you up?
Well, now, I didn't see it because it's very hard. You don't get up here. I think we're up in Mackay. Get Channel 9 Mackay up here.
Yes.
So we don't see. But they're showing the second part of it yet.
Well, they did last Tuesday, yes.
Right.
But
so what happened on the second part?
What did happen?
Well, that's when Jim and Gary come along and they hosted the show. But what I want to ask you...
hang on, Bill. That's when they did come along, because the first part, as I understand, is about Eddie's rising and how he started. And then I thought, well, I hope there's a second part, because some of the very good stuff, along with Ed, was Bill and you, and was Jimmy and Gary.
Yes.
And Rebecca and Hutchie doing the rest of it for the rest of the 27 or however long we're...
Exactly. But the question, Foss,
What is it?
what's the most asked question you get? Because when people ask us, the only question we get is, what's Sam Newman really like? So what's the question you get most out of the Footy Show?
What's they ask me what I'm like? No, no. They just say, was any of it set up? Was it now? So of course some of it was set up, but some of it was set up, but I'm at pains to say none of it was staged. Now, if you think that's a contradiction in terms, people, you have to have a running sheet and some idea of how to throw a show together. Been successful for 25 or 6 or 7 years, but the very fact that it was live to air made it unscripted to a certain extent, and we aimed to, we were self-effacing. That means shy, but we weren't shy. We didn't seek the limelight necessarily. It was an unintended consequence of doing a live show, and so it was based on being had a satirical bent, and it was a parody.
Yes,
and it was designed to be entertaining to the rank and file, not to the social elites and the critics who couldn't get enough of us because they know they couldn't do it themselves, and they gave us a lecture on manners and taste and decorum, breeding and morality and obligation, and we could, breeding. Now, we couldn't give a stuff about the critics because it made us laugh. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
They vicariously lived their lives through wishing that they could be half as successful as we were. Not me, but half as successful as the show in the little dribbling things that they did to sustain themselves.
Now, Foss,
Well
said the other week, we were talking about it with Fat on air because the special was coming up. I get asked about yourself, and the other thing I get asked about is what was my favourite moment.
Yes.
And I think mine pretty much coincides with yours. And that's when the bloke who sold Gary a spud that didn't have enough coleslaw in it came on, and Gary wasn't aware that he was coming on. So when he came on and said you came and complained there wasn't enough coleslaw, Gary started to crack the shits. And then he said, righto, that's enough. Whenever Gary said righto, you knew he'd had enough. So he said, righto. And then we thought, righto, he's just about had enough of this. And then the heavens opened and he had coleslaw tipped on him from a great height. And I thought you were going to pass out. You were laughing that hard.
And that, of course, is the beauty of doing it live.
Yes.
You see, people, when you say live, they say, it must have been delayed 10 seconds or even 5 seconds.
Wasn't.
It's straight to air. And the very fact that he got the brace and bits big time made it all the more humorous because they know you couldn't edit it out, and his credibility. But I think mainly only just topped by the stretcher vision.
Yes.
Oh, yes. What about the mankini that Jim wore out one night, Foss? What about that? The president of a club.
Well. So this is. And now look, it sounds like we're stroking ourselves. And there's probably some other great shows around and have been and all that. But the very fact that the people who have a standing in the community, Eddie himself, Gary, you, James, I don't know about you and me, but James and Gary have a credibility and an attitude they have to adhere to.
Yes.
But the fact that they don't take themselves too seriously and are willing to laugh at themselves, just if it is a good idea. They're generous, so they'll give it when they want to, and when someone's given it to them, they cop it. So that's generosity in television, which is rarely seen on many shows.
What about Force when Shane and I managed to find somehow, I don't know how we did the key to your room, and
he had his own room.
You had your own room, and it was locked, and we managed to find the key, and we snuck in there, and we used to put the little Mars bars into your toilet because you hated anyone
doing poo.
Doing poos. And all we used to hear was this voice, "You stupid boys." And then followed quickly by, "Shane, you're an imbecile, and Jim, you're meant to be the president of a football club."
Yeah. You might remember we did Big Bill's household.
Yes.
Or something.
Oh, no respect for Bill.
No, and Shane locked me in the bloody...
He did.
Dunny. Now that I only got angry with Shane on several. Well,
How many times?
Well, I didn't get angry when he pulled my pants down because I thought just what I mean. As I've said this before, he said I don't blame Shane because he's a lovely little boy, but he's got clear blue eyes. If you walk up and look into him, it's like looking out the skylight in your house. There's nothing behind him. So I don't hold him for that.
We loved it, Foss. Now, we need to let you go. Really appreciate you jumping on. I know you're out in the middle of nowhere and having a ball, and it's a brilliant thing you're doing.
Good on you.
Great to chat.
And let's catch up in January or February or something.
Yeah. Right, good on you, Bill. Yeah, let's have a drink together.
I've got a gig. My next gig's in March.
Yeah.
He's starting to steal some of your stuff. He may as well. He steals everyone else's.
Yeah, you might as well say you got artificial legs and real feet.
That's one
Well
of my
done,
best
Foss.
funniest.